We are the Walking Dead. So badass. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another TV episode review. Guys, did you like that? I know that's not how it happened in the episode, but it's okay. It's all good. Anyway, guys, yes, it is Sunday night, and you guys know what Sunday night means. It is time for me to review the newest episode of The Walking Dead. It is Walking Dead Sunday night, big night. You know, we get Walking Dead, Talking Dead, and then Comic Book Men at 12, which I also like to watch. I don't know why I just mentioned that, though. It's not important, but don't worry about it. Anyway, guys, The Walking Dead started back again last week. We are in the second half of Season 5. This is Episode 10, Season 5, Episode 10. The title of the episode is Them. And after last week's episode, and the shocking thing that happened last week, by the way, spoilers, in case you guys didn't know, I spoil heavy in my reviews. There is, heavy spoilers. Yeah, so after last week's episode was a solid mid-season premiere. I thought it was good. I thought it was just very odd, and it was. And I like how it was different, and I acknowledge that. And I actually watched it again, and it was a lot better the second time than the first time I saw it. But my rating for that still stands. And I was definitely looking forward to this week's episode, because seeing the promo, I saw the group was going to be all together. Finally. I don't remember the last time we had this group all together. It was back in early Season 5, probably like Episode 2. Apart from Beth, the whole entire group was together. Yeah, they were. And so that's why I was looking forward to tonight's episode, because I wanted an episode, or at least a few episodes, to just show the entire group together. I'm tired of having the group split up into different factions and showing different stories going on. I mean, it's fine that they do that, but I like to see them all together. That's what I wanted, and that's what I got for tonight. So, anyway, let's get to it, guys. Now, I think that the episode does have the whole group together, the whole gang together, for using that term. I think that the focus or the point of the episode was not only the group's beginning their journey to Washington, D.C. As we all remember the end of last week's episode. I'm assuming it's been like a few days since the death of Tyreese. I think they said it in the show. It was like a day and a half. But apparently they've traveled about 40 miles already, so it's probably longer than that. I'm not all sure. But the group is on the road to D.C. because, as we all remember from last week's episode, Michonne brought up to Rick, listen, we can't just keep settling down in these places. You know, we got to keep trying. We got to get the hell out of D.C. Get the hell out of Georgia, excuse me. And Rick's like, yeah, you know what? She's right. Let's go to D.C. Let's see what lies there for us. I think it's been several weeks since Beth's whole thing with Atlanta. That's what they said in tonight's episode. But the focus of tonight's episode was to show how mentally stable three important characters are after the deaths of Beth and Tyreese. And those three characters are Daryl, Maggie, and Sasha. Because Daryl and Maggie, of course, were both very, very close to Beth. They were the closest to Beth of anyone in the whole group. And then Sasha, of course, was close to Tyreese because that was her brother. And I liked how the episode focused on that because, yeah, we've had characters die, but I don't remember the last time where they just set an episode apart to focus on characters who are mourning the loss of loved ones. And I like that, you know? They haven't done that in a very long time. When Herschel died, the group was all split, and yeah, that was covered over several episodes, people mourning his death. Like that episode where Beth and Daryl were alone, they were mourning Herschel's death. They even broke down in one point because of what had happened. But they didn't dedicate like a whole episode to it, and that's what I liked about tonight's episode. We had lost two big characters in the show, and they needed to show us how important that was, those moments were in the show, and how much they affected our main characters. And that's why I really liked tonight's episode, and I think I might have even liked it a little bit better than last week. You know, we have scenes of Daryl's scenes are mostly him. You know, the group is mostly going on foot. I think they had like 2 cars in this episode, but they run out of gas, so they eventually have to go on foot. And everybody's in the group. Everybody's there. Rick, Glenn, Sasha, I almost said Tyreese, Daryl, Maggie, Carl, Judith, Eugene, Rosita, Abraham, all of them. They're all there. I think I got all of them. There's a lot of them. And Father Gabriel, of course. So they're all going by foot, and Daryl is sort of like splitting from the group. Oh, and Carol. How could I forget Carol? Daryl's sort of like splitting from the group, going into the woods, looking for water. He comes across all these different things. He comes across a deer carcass, and he sees the deer's spine. In the beginning of the episode, he takes a worm out of the ground and eats it. What I want to go off of that moment in the episode, I like how this episode shows that the group is not only affected by the loss of Beth and Tyreese, but they're also being affected by the heat, because you can hear the crickets going. It's extremely hot out. I'm assuming it's sometime between spring and summer, or maybe it's the end of summer. I don't really know how the seasons are going in the show. It doesn't matter. But I like where they're going with that, and I think all that is great. But I like seeing how almost like savage the group is. Not like full on savage. You know what I mean? Like they're all grimy and dirty. We get a lot of close-ups in this episode. We just see the grime and the filth on them. Not only are they affected by these losses of these people that were close to them, but they're also affected by like the surroundings and the environment that they're in. And I really just felt that as I watched this episode. I think they did a really good job. Whoever directed and whoever did that, whoever DP'd, I think they did a really good job with that. So that's Daryl. And Daryl's thing is, there's another scene. He goes into the woods and he smokes a cigarette. I was like, shit, Daryl smokes. And he's smoking and he takes a cigarette and he's burning his hand. And I guess that's sort of like releasing the pain that he's feeling because of Beth's death. Because that obviously affected him, because he was this close. He literally looked at Beth in the final episode, in her final episode, and then to just have her go out like that, I mean, that's tough, okay? And obviously, apart from affecting Maggie, it really, really affected Daryl. Now, Maggie, on the other hand, in this episode, there's, again, like with Daryl, there's tons of shots of her with, like sitting alone in the forest. She hears a walker coming. She goes and just stabs it. There's shots where there's several interesting scenes where Father Gabriel is trying to talk to Maggie, and he's trying to soothe her, basically, because he knows knows what she's going through, but he understands the pain that she must be feeling. And it's kind of an interesting dynamic, because Father Gabriel is a religious man. He's a priest. And Maggie used to be a part of that. And Maggie even tells him straight up, I used to be Catholic, or I used to, be Christian, or whatever she says. And but not anymore. And I just love that line. And there was an interesting part with Father Gabriel as well. Just seeing where the group has gone in this episode. He takes that little white collar thing that he has. I don't know what that's called. All priests wear them. I don't know. And he burns it in a fire later on in the episode. Or midway into the episode. I thought that was interesting as well. And another thing with Maggie, she comes across a car, a trunk, and she opens it, and there's a tied up, kidnapped walker with blonde hair, of course. And of course it's not she's struggling to kill walkers now. I think it's really just the fact that she's been affected by Beth's death, honestly, and it's just really slowed her down. And there are scenes where she just has like the blankest of all blank stares, and she's just like, she looks dead inside, honestly. And Glenn is trying to soothe her. He's trying to calm her down. Glenn even tries to calm down Daryl, but they're just not having it. They are really devastated by the loss of Beth. And Maggie even admits it early on in the episode to Sasha, who I'm going to get into next. And she even admits it to Sasha in the end. I don't know how much longer we're going to take this. And Sasha's like, early on in the episode, and Sasha's like, Maggie's like, how much more is left? And Maggie's like, oh, we probably got another 60 miles. And she's like, I wasn't talking about that. She was referring to how much more of this can we take, Like, how are we going to survive? I mean, basically, they're feeling a lot of remorse. They're feeling a lot of depression, of course, because of those they'd lost. And I bought into it because the episode did a good... Not only were the performances really good, but the episode really sold me on the fact that these people are really devastated by the people they just lost. And I like how the episode touched upon that. It's been a while since we've had an episode like this. Getting into Sasha now. Sasha is very quiet and buttoned down, and she's not like on the verge of tears as Daryl is. Daryl even breaks down crying in the episode, and Maggie does as well. Sasha's not like that, and I think, and they mentioned this on Talking Dead briefly, it's probably because Sasha has hasn't lost anyone like close to her, really close to her. And for her first big loss is Tyreese, so maybe she really doesn't know how to deal with her feelings. And you can tell throughout this episode it's definitely prevalent. Michonne and her clash with each other at one point, and I thought that was interesting. By the way, when I was mentioning the names of the group, I entirely forgot about Michonne. I don't know why. There's so many of them, guys. There's so many of them. You're going to start killing them all off. I'm kidding. So yeah, that's why Sasha isn't as affected. Because look at all the people that Maggie and Daryl have lost. Maggie lost Herschel, Beth, Patricia. Everybody on the farm was close to Maggie, and they're all gone. She's the last green family member, and the only close person she has left to her, apart from everybody else in the group, but the one it's her husband, it's Glenn. And Daryl, forget about all the people Daryl has lost, from Merle to now Beth, to Herschel. Daryl broke down for Herschel in one moment of the show. Sophia. I mean, they've all lost so many, and this is just the episode where it hits these three characters mainly. But getting back to Sasha, Sasha's really only lost Tyreese, which is why it's really, really hard for her to deal with this. You guys know what I'm saying? And it was interesting to see that, because Sasha is responding to Tyrese's death through anger. She's very pissed off. She even has a scene where she confronts Noah, and Noah's like, I don't know if I can make this, and she's like, no, you can. And I kind of laugh, because I hear that everybody hates Chris' theme song playing in my head as she's confronting him. It's Noah, it's your fault that Tyreese is dead. Also, I forgot to mention Noah, part of the group, but Noah's barely in the episode. Oh, and Tara. I forgot about Tara as well. It's a big group, guys, a really big group. And Morgan's going to be coming soon. Yeah, he is. I'll get to Morgan later. Morgan's not in the episode, by the way, as you guys know. But I almost thought he was going to come in. I'll get into that later. But Sasha takes out her response to Tyrese's death through anger. She there's a scene where the group is standing like on this bridge, and there's a horde of walkers coming after them. And they just inch over to the side, and they just let the walkers fall off this like hill, and they roll down the hill, which I thought was great, by the way. Extremely funny. And Sasha's just like, no, I'm not having this. She whips out her sword or her knife or whatever she was, your pole, I don't remember, and she just starts taking out walkers. And Michonne's just trying to hold her back, so the group is like, screw it, we gotta fight off these walkers. And it was really interesting. They got a couple nice kills, honestly. So this episode had a lot that I really liked, and I'm gonna get to one of my favorite parts very shortly. The ending was great, but there's another scene in a barn that I just loved, and I can't wait to discuss it because it was amazing. But Sasha's dealing with that stuff, and there's another scene where the group is, I think they've stopped, and like a pack of hungry dogs come out of the woods, and I was like, ooh, they're going to fight these dogs, and this is going to be pretty exciting. We've never seen this before. And a part of me was upset that things went down like this, but another part of me was like, yeah, alright, I'll live with it. Sasha picks them all off with a silenced rifle. And you can tell that this is how she deals with grief. She takes out her grief with anger and some bit of hate, and she's not listening to anyone else that are trying to calm her down and trying to soothe her, but she's just hell-bent and really, really upset, and she's channeling these upset feelings within her through anger and taking out these walkers and these dogs in these scenes. So it's interesting to see how different members of the group cope or deal with loss, and that was the point of tonight's episode, and that's what I really loved. So getting towards the end of the episode, more towards the end, the group is struggling to find water, and they come across a little stash of water bottles filled to the brim with water in the middle of the road, no less. There's a couple gallon jugs of water, and there's a note on it that says, from a friend, I think. Yeah, was it from a friend. And the group is like, should we drink this? I don't think we should drink this. So then a huge rainstorm starts, and it's pouring rain. The group is just like kicking back, and they're just enjoying, they're opening their mouths. They craving this water. And it was such an interesting moment, because everybody in the entire group is just like rejoicing that they finally have water, fresh water that they can trust, that they can definitely just drink. And they're filling their water bottles. Daryl, Maggie, and Sasha just shut down, and they're not happy for it. So then the thunder starts to pick up. So the group heads into this barn that Daryl had found while he was on his own, and they stay in for the night. And during the night, to escape the storm, they're surrounded. Some of the group is surrounded by campfire, and Rick goes off into this speech. And Rick, my man, he always gives the greatest speeches. I swear he does. And add this onto the list of his greatest speeches on this show, because this is probably one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorite lines from the comics. Now, some of you guys may or may not know this, but I actually have been reading some of the comics. I am on the first compendium, and I'm almost done with it. I got about like 200 pages or something like that, maybe a little less than that left in the first compendium. I need to go buy the second one. I don't have it yet. But I got up to the part in the first compendium where Rick makes the speech about The Walking Dead. And I didn't see that coming tonight's episode. And Rick starts this interesting speech off about how they're struggling to survive, and they're like, "Oh, you know, I don't know if we could take this. And this is tough. This sucks," basically. And Rick goes into a story about his grandfather, and it starts off just somewhat touching, and you can tell he's going somewhere with this. And the way that the conversation carries into just blows me the hell away. So what happens is, Rick tells the story about how his grandfather was either in one of the wars. Now, I don't get this. Rick is like 30 years old, so his father was, I don't know how old his father was when he died, but Rick's telling a story about his grandfather in what sounded like World War II. I don't know how they pulled that off. Yeah, maybe it is like that. I mean, it can't be World War One, but I don't know. It just felt a little odd. Like Rick would be in his 50s to have had a grandfather in World War II. I don't know. My grandfather was in World War II, and he's passed on. He was 91 when he passed on. I'm now 18. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's off. Either Rick should be really young, or Rick's grandfather had Rick's father very... Whatever, you guys get the point. I just thought that just took me out of it for a second. But I still was into the speech. Rick's going into the speech about how his grandfather, in order to kill the Germans, or to fight this war against the Germans, he had to pretend to be dead, basically. You know, in order to sort of gain the upper hand. Because Rick always asks his grandfather, "Did you kill anybody?" And Rick's grandfather never answered. And then Rick then asked, "Did anybody ever kill any of you guys?" And then his grandfather, responded, "We had to pretend to be dead," basically. And he has this great analogy to what this group is now going to, and it's an amazing analogy that is what happened in World War II, and this is what the group is dealing with now in this world ravaged by walkers. And Daryl ends the speech by adding on to what Rick says, but Rick finishes it by saying, "We are the Walking Dead." And that was a huge moment in the comics. It had its own page, a large shot of Rick's face, and then you get the little bubble, and it says, "We are the Walking Dead." That's in the comics. And tonight, it was a huge moment. I didn't see it coming. My mouth dropped. I was waiting for that episode. I thought they were going to do it at the end of season 4 when they get thrown in the train car, but instead Rick said they're screwing with the wrong people. And tonight he says, "We are the Walking Dead." And of course what he means by that is they are amongst these walkers, and in order to kill them, not that they have to pretend to be dead, but they have to do what it takes to survive in order to gain the upper hand over them, which is why they're the Walking Dead. Now, in the comics, when Rick said that, he sort of inferred to the fact that the group was they lost their humanity, and that is why he calls them the Walking Dead in the comics. Tonight, it was more about survival, and that's why the group themselves are the Walking Dead. And I love that moment, tonight's episode. Amazing speech, great writing right there. And Daryl just says 3 lines, "We ain't them." And then Rick says something back, and then Daryl's just like, "We ain't them," and he walks off. Excellent moment. So, yeah, I love that. That's got to be one of my favorite moments of Season 5 thus far. It was great. I was waiting for that speech, and I loved that. It was a great payoff. So, the group sleeps in the barn over the night. Just to finish recapping the episode, they had to hold the barn doors against a huge herd of walkers. Maggie, Sasha, and Daryl come to the rush and hold the doors, and then the whole group has to hold the doors. Carl even throws Judith on the floor. He doesn't actually throw her, but he's like, Judith, lay down. I'm gonna go help the group. No, I'm just kidding. But he does do that. So then morning comes, and Maggie goes over and talks to Daryl, and then she goes over to Sasha, and the two of them leave the barn, and they go out and have their own little moment as the sun starts to rise, or set. I think it was rising, though. Anyway, apparently the storm had stopped all the walkers from attacking the barn. You see trees all over the place, walkers impaled by trees. I thought that was a little, alright, convenient, but whatever, I lived with it. I shrugged it off. And then Maggie and Sasha sit down, and they start talking, and Maggie's like, we can make it through this, She has a little bit more faith restored in her, and she's giving that to Sasha. And it's just a really quiet, somber moment between the two that was really sweet and nice. And I'm like, something's going to happen here. Something is going to happen. This episode, for the most part, was just very quiet and somber and very depressing, and it hit those emotional arcs perfectly. So I'm like, something exciting is going to happen here. Not that I didn't hate that the episode wasn't all that exciting. I liked how the episode played out. But something does exciting happen, and it's the moment where a stranger approaches them, and they hold up their guns to him, and they're like, who are you? What the hell are you doing? He identifies himself as Aaron and says that he wants to speak to the leader of their group, and he says Rick's name, and then they're like, Maggie and Sasha are like, what? Well, how do you know Rick's name? And then the episode cuts to black. That was great. That was a great way to cap off the episode. A very quiet and somber episode. It was an episode that I think was needed to show how these survivors deal with loss of loved ones. And it was a great way to end it, because now we're going to get back into some really, what's going to look like some really tension-filled moments next week, as this guy named Aaron is going to confront Rick in the group. And apparently he's a part of this group known as the Alexandria Safe Zone, which I hear is a pretty big moment in the comics. I haven't gotten to that part yet in the comics, but I can't wait to see where they're going to go with this, honestly, guys. So, yeah, guys, that's it. Those are my thoughts on tonight's episode of The Walking Dead. I really, really like this one. I think a lot of you, some of you guys are probably not going to like it as much as last week's because of how shocking last week's was. But for me, last week's episode felt a little unnecessary, and I still feel Tyreese didn't need to die like that, and he shouldn't have gone out like that of all ways. And I still think that there was things they could have done with that episode that they didn't do. Tonight's episode was an episode, a type of episode I don't think it's either an episode we've never seen done before on the show, or an episode that it's been a while since we've seen one like this. And that's why I like tonight's episode. So I'm going to go high with my rating. I liked it better than last week's. I did. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 for tonight's episode. A-. I really enjoyed it, guys. I got to say. It was quiet. It was somber. It was depressing. It was nice to see these characters dealing with loss, something we haven't seen in a while on the show. It had its great moments like Rick's speech. There were a lot of great zombie kills tonight. A lot of good things went on tonight, and the ending was great. Really interesting character moments, and I loved, above all, seeing this group together. This is what I like from the show. I know there's so many of them in the group. I don't care. I love seeing them together as one whole unit. Yeah, you can have group members like go apart from the group and talk to one another. Like, say you have two characters talking to each other, like Father Gabriel and Maggie talk to each other 2 times tonight. That's fine. Have little moments like that. Don't split each episode up and split the group up in each episode and have 3 group members in one and 4 in another. I hate that. Don't do that, and I think they're not going to do that for a while at least. Thank you, Walking Dead, for listening to us. So, 9 out of 10, guys. Great episode. What did you think of it? And what are your predictions for next week, guys? What do you think is going to happen with this Aaron guy? I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with this. And also, did you think Morgan was going to come into tonight's episode? I did, and I'll tell you why. I'm watching this episode with my dad and my brother, and out of the blue, my dad's just like, wait, what about Morgan? And then I'm like this. I'm watching the episode. He says that, and I'm like, I forgot about Morgan. Morgan's got to come in soon. And I know he's behind because he found the note, the world's going to need Rick Grimes in the map, after the group left Atlanta, I think. So he's a little bit behind, but he'll catch up. He's freaking Morgan, and he has superpowers, and he has mind powers. He will mess up zombies and kill anyone that gets in his way to find Rick Grimes. So it's going to happen. Just wait for it. I think they'll all meet up together at Alexandria, though. So, yeah. So, guys, again, what did you think of tonight's episode? And let me know what you thought of it. And give me your predictions for next week. I really liked it. Great episode. Thank you, Walking Dead, for giving us a good episode. I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.